Hey, welcome to another episode of Becoming a TechnoWizard. Been a minute since I did a call on, a talk on my phone, a video on my phone, and just, walked and talked, just share some thoughts I had. And I want to share some wizard thoughts today. I'm got still a good amount to do on my work, but so tired about that right now. Um, so let me just get into some things I was thinking about outside of work. All right. So as you all know, or anybody that seen these last couple of videos, especially that long video on devs or Deuce, that FX Hulu show. Um, I like to think a lot about like philosophy, science, and all that technology from an abstract standpoint. And today I was listening to some podcasts by this great YouTube podcaster called whose name is Lex Friedman. Yeah, I think that's how you say it, Lex Friedman, and he interviews a lot of really cool people. Particularly, the director of Devs and Ex Machina, that movie or those movies that show. He interviewed Wolfram, Stephen Wolfram from the creator of Wolfram Alpha. um, he interviewed. I'm listening right now. Him interview Nick Bostrom. He's a very famed. I think that's a. I forget the dude, the inventor of Ethereum coin. I think that might be him, or maybe I'm confusing with the last interview he did. I don't know. I've been just binge listening to his podcast, and it's been super great. But I love these sorts of things because it gets me thinking about all these different topics that I love to think about. So I was like, it's high time for me to talk about it. All right. Um, so I talked a little bit about quantum stuff, about determinism versus free will, and that Dev's episode. Check it out up here. That fancy stuff right there. I'm gonna put the card up there. But check it out if you want to see that episode. Um, but some of the there's so much stuff, great stuff that they were talking about in this interview. Some things on my mind though. Oh my gosh, where to start? Okay. Determinism, right? Um, from the perspective of just what they were talking about just now is a simulation, right? The simulation hypothesis versus the simulation arguments. These are two different things, right? I think I don't understand it 100%. That's why I wanted to talk about it, but this is how I understand it. Simulation hypothesis is a saying, hey, what if what if we live in a simulation? What would that mean for us? All right. Is our reality real? Is all this quote unquote real? And even if we are living in a simulation, what does that mean about reality? Like this is so real to the point that if it does tend to end up being a simulation, then what does that mean? Like, does it matter? Does it matter at all if we are living in a simulation? Like, it's real as much as we can configure. um, um, and another part to that is that if we can create a simulation to the point where the beings inside of it, are conscious in some way or seem conscious to us, then what does that mean about our reality? Once again, and I think the simulation argument is proposing, is saying something about. I think is related to the um, the great filters, Fermi's paradox. Fermi's paradox is basically a big thing is saying, we live in such a huge universe, big galaxy, a lot of planets and stuff like that. Um, why haven't we been visited by aliens, right? Where are the aliens? um, and there's a whole bunch of like, it's called a paradox because there's a whole bunch of reasons as to why this like there's no aliens. Um, I'm not going to get into all that because that's a lot of stuff, and a lot of people have talked about it to a better extent than I can right now, or I want to right now. Um, but I think this seems a simulation argument is in relation to that. It's saying that there are three kind of paradigms to look at reality and simulations. One is the idea of a experience box or experience simulation where you put in a box of some time of I forgot the exact word they use, but like, you know, you just put in a thing that is meant to make you feel like what you're looking at, what you're experiencing is real, right? Some vat, experience vat, whatever. So it stimulates your brain in a certain way that that purposely it doesn't necessarily try to make it look like feel real to our idea of sensory organs, but it stimulates directly your brain to trick it into thinking that it experienced a certain thing. So it's kind of trippy to understand, but it's like the idea of faking memories, right? Um, where if you talk to like a stranger or something like that, you know, or just, like in a networking thing or something like that, you can actually sometimes fake memories of people by saying, "Hey, you remember if you remember something, if you call something about them, like, hey, do you remember, you know, like a random specific event, like where it went to school or something like that, and just say, oh, blah 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 blah." And sometimes, you know, depending on the person, they might say, "Oh, I remember that," even though you know that the whole thing was fake. You know, you can fake memories like that, because the brain is such a kind of fluid and fickle thing that it's not it's very easily fooled. You know, it's not necessarily hard to fake these sorts of things. So what if you had a machine or some type of, you know, it can even be a type of chemical or something that is meant to stimulate your brain to make you experience certain feelings or make you think you experience certain things. That's one thing. And then the other idea is, I think, I don't even recall. I gotta watch that video some more because I was only half paying attention. Sorry, but I think that part really hit me. It's really interesting because to me, I've always thinking about like again, one of the big reasons I want to become a techno wizard is because I want to like live in a world where I feel like I can create magic. Right, I can invent magic. I can be like a magician, a wizard, you know. 'Cause I think that's like so freaking cool. Right, it makes life seem more interesting, more amazing. More fulfilling to me because I often feel like I'm like there's a huge filter between my brain and reality. Like I have ideas, I have things I want to do, but when it goes out to do them, like all the tools at hand feel insufficient. And to me, you know, who's a huge reader in magic and fantasy and even science fiction, um, and those, you know, tales in these books and these stories, you know, the it was always like these magical characters that can make their reality real, that can, you know, mold reality to their kind of desire, you know. And I don't see it as a point of power. I don't see it as a point of, oh, I'm gonna make you do this, or, you know, a bunch of riches. No, I'm thinking about it in terms of just creation, right? Like what's the best form of creativity? um I mean, granted, this is a subjective statement. To other people, they enjoy the process of trying to make something work by utilizing these tools. They enjoy coding, they enjoy drawing, they enjoy all these different ways because they enjoy the process of crafting your art, right? But to me, that's why I don't consider myself an artist. I don't consider myself a or even a creator because I simply don't enjoy, or at least not often, I enjoy the art of creating something, right? What I want to do is get my ideas out of my head and see if I can, you know, see if they're valuable at all. Like I want to, if I have ideas of a giant city, of a, you know, how in the world, like it's gonna take me years, decades to even mess with any sort of tools to get that stuff out into the air, you know, into reality. Or if I, you know, do a simulation, you know, it'll take me months, if not years, again to learn, you know, the right how to use the right tools and this, that, and the other, just for one idea, just for one idea, right? And I have like literally thousands of ideas I want to test out. I want to see into reality. I want to see what works, what doesn't work. I want to, you know, stack them up and recombine them and all this stuff. You know, I do this all the time in my head, and it frustrates me to no end when I can't I can't do any of it. Right? That's why I always feel so inadequate, because all I really want to do is get my ideas out of my head. All right, and a wizard, you know, a magical person feels like to me, to have that power, to have that ability, to mold reality in such a way that whatever is in their head is accurately portrayed in reality. That's a magical power to accurately portray exactly what is in your mind, into reality. And there's a huge amount of like difficulties with that. I do understand that. Like the whole reason why reading is such a different and an engaging experience compared to watching a movie, and the reason why almost it's almost impossible to to accurately and satisfiably translate every single thing from a book into a movie or into any sort of visual show, is because when you're reading, something, a description or whatever, your mind doesn't, at least most of us, to my extent, to my knowledge, our minds don't, or at least mine doesn't craft a set, like, we don't have a firm image in our mind. Like, even if it doesn't matter how descriptive, the artist, the writer is trying to portray what they're saying, even if it's something simple as a square, as a cube, as something that that's as a very simple object, our minds simply do not have. Most of us aren't um, receptive. No, what's the term? You get what I'm saying here. Most of us don't have that photographic imagery, right, in our minds. So when we're reading something, when somebody's describing us something, our mind is not coming up with one thing. Our mind is coming up with a bunch of different things, and it's kind of fuzzy, right? It's kind of a fuzzy idea of what we're thinking about, of what we're imagining, of what the thing is being described, right? It's a fuzzy thing. There's a whole bunch of possibilities of what it might be, and that is like the joy of it, because even though it seems fuzzy, it's possibility. So when you're reading something, when you're reading a character's description, you have the possibility of a lot of different, things. And so when somebody, when you get an actor to do that, right, you'll be like, oh, that wasn't how I imagined it. Or sometimes you're like, hey, that's actually pretty accurate. But it's almost never going to be, oh, that was perfect. Not only because there's no such thing as perfect, but because, even if you say it's as close as to what the writer described, to what you can imagine, it might just be because you had a lack of imagination, or maybe just because, you didn't really care to think about that level of detail for the character. When they say they have this hair, this, usually they keep it pretty vague. Their characters, they pretty vague. They say, they have this type of shape, they have this type of hair, they sound like this person, or, they have, this type of archetype around them. And so your mind crafts all these different possibilities together and creates actually a design term. It creates, or a marketing term, I don't know. It creates shoot, and that term just slipped my mind just like that. Come on. Sheesh, it's gonna hit me later, but it creates a persona. There we go. Goodness, it creates a persona of what you're thinking about, right? And a persona is not a real person. It's an idea of a person. It's a kind of catalog. It's a subset. It's an idea of a person, yeah. Of a type of person, of a category, and so that's what our minds do. And to me, what's so magical about this idea of simulations and what if reality is a simulation and stuff like that, is now it gets me thinking, maybe I can hack that simulation. Or maybe I can learn some deep level of knowledge about how reality works, in order to recraft it in a way that I can better translate my thoughts into reality. And that's all magic is ability to translate, your thoughts into reality, translate your imagination, make it real, right? So that's like some of the crazy reasons why, I don't really mind if society, if reality rather, is a simulation, because to me that means it might even be, there might be some wiggle room there. And even if it's not a simulation, the idea that we can create simulations also, to me, is just as good, because and they explore this in the podcast, When you think about creating a simulation or living in a simulation, why does it matter if it's a simulation, right? um, to us, we like to think that we want to live a life of meaning, of fulfillment, right? That's what makes life worth living. When we go through life and we don't really enjoy what we're doing, when we feel like we haven't made an impact, we haven't made a difference, we haven't really enjoyed anything, then that's what makes life feel meaningless. That's what makes life feel. That's why people get so depressed and um, so just done with it, right? Because there's no meaning there. And so if we could create a simulation, even if it's not, let's not even try to think about being 100% realistic, right? Let's just think about something that has the basic qualities of what you want. So let's say a game. All right, games today are the perfect example of what a simulation can be and where it can go, right? So if you imagine playing a game, let's take an MMO. It could be World of Warcraft. It could be Guild Wars 2, whatever MMO you're playing, right? Usually, what makes an MMO a game really fun is the ability to feel like you're making that you're kind of have significance in the game, right? Where your character grows powerful, has some cool abilities, or has a cool action, combat, or just something, or even if it's not even like it could be a mystery game or something, but you feel like you're doing something, right, of value in that game's context. However, the reason why games are thought of as games and not productive, like when we say, oh, you're just playing games, right? Um, the reason why it has such a bad stigma is because we like to pretend. I say pretend because I, but we like to say that games are meaningless because all the value that you think you're getting from it, or that you think you're doing from it, is only in the context of that game. So if you're playing Rocket League, you scored a point, yay, right? You you did some value to your team, you won that game. But now what? If you stop playing the game, now what did you get in reality, right? What did you get in your life? That change. Maybe you get a good feeling for a little bit, but the problem with a lot of games is that it feels unproductive. It feels like, if you would have spent that time doing this, that, the other, getting a skill, something like that, maybe you'd be in a better spot. That's why, a lot of people feel like, games are unproductive. However, what we're realizing more and more is that games are super productive. From an abstract level, or a rather psychological level, the act of playing a game increases certain skills, certain like proprioception, certain reaction skills, certain memory, even social skills when you're playing multiplayer games. There's actually a good amount of things you can learn from playing games that you can take into reality, into everyday life. Now what I want to do is expand on that. Okay, so now say that you're playing a game, you're playing World of Warcraft and some WoW or whatever, and you well, I can't say that one because I don't play I don't even play that game. I never play that game. So I can't. It's not even. Let me just invent a new game, all right? So let's play. Because in my head, this is how I see it, right? Because I want to create a massive MMORPG. I want to create that's redundant, but anyways, I want to create a large game where it kind of questions people, and I want people to question their reality, not from what is real, what is not. No, I want people to question their sense of values, right? What they think they can do with reality, right? Because in this reality, we often feel limited. I imagine so. A lot of people feel limited. That's why depression is so high, suicide rates, and all this other things. And people all the time hate their jobs, this, that, and the other. Right? People feel limited in what they can do. However, in a game, you can craft the game to make the gameplay loop, to make the everyday feeling of the game more fun and enjoyable. Because you can with reality, we kind of were stuck with what we got. We came into this world. It's like we just came into this world and we had to deal with the cards we're dealt. But And to most of us, we it's hard for us to enjoy that sort of game, you know, because maybe we were dealt a bad hand. um, oh, I can get deep into that, but anyways, the point is that like for a game that we craft ourselves from the get go, that we can say, hey, this is the gameplay loop. This is how you enjoy, this game, this simulation or whatever, right? You can craft it perfectly, or at least very very well, so that we really enjoy every aspect of playing that game. Now, if you also include the aspect of, hey, what if this game can impact reality? Then you start being able to cross over the value, right? And we see that for oh, somebody's messaging me, 1 second. Hey, about to get my girl to come. Sorry, y'all. I'm on my phone, so if I pause it, it'll stop the video, and I have to like redo everything, or like, cause there's no way to like put two freaking videos together on YouTube, and for some reason my phone doesn't allow me to transfer data from the phone to my MacBook. So, anyways, let me just text real quick. Okay, so imagine the ability to cross over value from the game that you're playing into reality. And an example of that is actually now, like nowadays, people are taking gamers more seriously because you can earn money from playing the game. Now, granted, it's not directly from the game itself; it's from the active playing. It's from people watching you play. Like other people gain value from the like entertainment value from watching you play. You get deals from sponsorships and publishers. So you can get advertise their stuff and all this stuff. So it's kind of like an abstract level. Is a in between level, right? So the active playing a game is what portrays that value. So you can find meaning in just being a gamer, but not from the game itself, not necessarily from the active playing a game, or not from the content inside of the game, but rather from the active playing the game. Because of in this reality, other people in this reality like watching you, play that, use your skills, use because of your personality or whatever. They like watching you, right? And that's how you gain value from it. However, what I want to do is say that, hey, you can play this game, and inside the game you can do work, you can be productive in a way that will also bring back value into your everyday life. So a good example of that is that you're playing this game I created, and maybe you build a house in that game. The game is so realistic that the act of building that house simulates what it would be like if you built it in reality. So now we can take those plans that you created in the game and put it and make a real house, right? And make a house from reality, or like and the house is a very simple complex, but I'm saying like maybe if you use some really interesting architecture with it, maybe if you use a certain type of design with it, right? You can transfer over like whatever you did in the game that actually has real life value, right? And so now the question then becomes, since you can gain value from the game itself, what does it matter of what you do outside of the game? And this becomes more and more like, this is you might find some reasons to poo-poo this idea, but I think that this becomes more and more important as the games that we play get more and more realistic and just full featured, right? So now you have to imagine playing a virtual reality game, put on the headset, and makes you feel like you're in the game. It's all around you, right? And so now, what if other people can also be in this world? So when you interact with people, that other person you're interacting with is a real person, right? But they maybe in the real world they live on the opposite side. They live in China. You're in America. You might never see each other. You can't afford a plane ticket or whatever, right? And the only times you see each other is inside that game. So now that game becomes your reality for your relationship, right? And we can take this to the next level. So now, in the games, remember that you have NPCs, meaning non-playable characters. They're usually the AI, they're fake, right? However, because of our brains, how fickle our brains are, we can create NPCs that feel, that seem like they're real. Oh, he's texting again. Let's think about that for a second. Hopefully I don't have to call, because if I have to call this, I might have to end it here and just do a part two. But yeah, so now think about the idea of you playing a game and the NPCs seem like they're real people. Like they can talk to you, like, hey, how's your day? Blah, 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 right? And then when you're not there, they have their own routine. They're going through their life, right, inside the game. They can build houses, they can have a family, they can all do all this stuff, all right? And then when you talk to them, they don't seem scripted. Like, they can talk to you about a whole wide range of topics and everything like that. And you can't really see, you can't even tell they're NPCs. For all you know, they could be other players just role playing, as, these people living in the world. So now the question really becomes, is this game a game? Like, is this just a game? How realistic is this simulation? You know, if other people can role play to this extent where you can't tell the difference between a player and an NPC, and vice versa, if the NPC is so realistic that you can't tell the difference between an AI that the developers had to have put in there and a quote unquote real player, what is reality? You know, and by and at this point, you can now ask yourself, hey, what happens if I live in this world, in this game world? I put on a VR headset and I only ever come out for bathroom breaks or eating or something like that. Or maybe not even that. You can I'm not even going to get into deep dive, like into full dive technology where you can transfer your brain into it. No, that's obvious. Like, that's obvious to at that point. Once we can do that, it's almost like arbitrary to say what's the difference between realities, between simulation and reality. No, I'm not even going to get there. I'm just saying, like, even where we are today, if you're playing something like VR chat and they have an update where, when you order food in the game, you order food in real life. Like, you go and order something in the game. You're at a restaurant in the game, and you're ordering it, and it takes a while because the game the food is actually being ordered from a real place in real life and brought to your door, right? So when you're eating in the game, you can also eat in real life with the headset on or something like that. And because the headset has pass through, you can see, exactly what you're doing and stuff like that. So this, I mean, even with today's technology, it's technically possible to make it feel like you're living in a totally different reality. And that's what, like, really excites me about this sort of technology, about the idea of being a techno wizard, right? Because now I can create a game that is so realistic, and again, not from graphic fidelity, not even. I mean, yes, that would help, but it doesn't have to be just that. It could look like Breath of the Wild. It could look at like it's a beautiful game, but it can look like a completely different art style. But the routines, the gameplay loop could be so detailed. Like, you can do everything in this game. You can go to the bathroom in the game. You can, you can have a family. You can cook. You can do all these things. And crafting. There's no menus, right? Or maybe you can even do that and make it seem like this is cool. But the point is that you can craft a simulation, a game that is so detailed that is not real. There's not really any difference between what you're playing and your everyday life. So that's why I really want to, like, be able to design these sorts of things, because then for sure I can design a game where, you know, starts picking up on your thoughts, and then you can craft things in the game where, as in real life, in quote unquote real life, you would have to pay, stupid amount of money, or make a stupid amount of investments to invent something like, brain interface nanotechnology, where when you think something, you can gather a bunch of nanobytes and or nanobots and craft whatever you're thinking about, right? In the game, once you discover something like brain computer interfaces, it becomes almost trivial to translate your thoughts into reality, into a reality. And that's what really excites me. So, yeah, man, it's I didn't even this is was it. I didn't think I was gonna go here. I thought I was gonna go on another topic, because I want to get into the ideas of my ideas of what the fundamental elements of reality are from a quantum perspective. But and then maybe another video. But it was fun talking about this. I hope this inspired you, or it just got you thinking about stuff. Love talking about this stuff. And yeah, thanks for watching again. See ya. Bye bye.